Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the Town of Somers Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is May 20th, 2025. Denise, would you please take the roll?
Yeah, I think this is Melissa, maybe?
I'm
Ms.
here.
DiPolito? Okay. Mr. Gio,
Here.
Mr. Hardin,
Here.
Mr. Lansky,
Here.
Mr. Newman,
Here.
Chairman Canestra,
Here.
and for the record, Mr. Padavani has submitted his resignation due to work conflicts that will keep him from coming to the meeting because of traveling.
Right. And do we have Melissa on the line with us?
Yes,
We do.
Melissa's the telephone. Do you
Okay.
see a telephone on the screen?
We do not. Melissa, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Good
great.
evening.
All right, so we have Melissa DiPolito with us also. Okay, great. I'd ask everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We're gonna have a little shuffling of the agenda this evening. We're going to go to items 2 and 3 first before we address the first item on the agenda that has been adjourned for several months. So the first matter we're going to go to is item number 2. Please excuse my pronunciation. Bizad and Dagahay and Martha Gimlet Valley, are they here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. This is an application to renew a special exception use permit as a new owner for an existing accessory apartment in a detached structure of an existing one-family dwelling in an R80 residential district at 3 North Lane, Katona. Sir, if you're here for the application, could you please come up to the microphone here and just give us your name and address?
Yeah, sure. Behzad Dogahed, 3 North Lane, Katona, New York, 10536.
Okay, thank you. And you are a new owner of this property?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and you're looking to renew or, since you're the new owner, you want to get the special exception use permit,
Right, Renote.
to renew, to rent out the apartment. Okay. Is there any current one currently residing in the apartment?
Yes, there was an existing tenant there.
There is an existing tenant.
Yes.
Okay, so just one person living in the apartment?
Yes.
Okay. Has the building inspector been out to review?
I have.
Okay. And is everything consistent with the record as we have it?
It is.
Okay. Looking over the list, the only exception I noticed was that the apartment is in excess of the 800 square feet limit. Looks like it's 896, but this has been previously reviewed many times. From the building department, have there been any complaints or issues regarding this apartment?
There haven't been.
No. Okay.
Also built after 92, but again, this has been approved 3 times before. It looks
Yeah. Okay. Just give us a moment. We're kind of looking through our
Yeah,
sheet, which lists
absolutely.
all of the specific facts regarding this. Okay. And you reside on the property
Yes, I do.
this apartment is located. Okay.
And the apartment's in an accessory building?
Yes, it is on top of connected to the garage.
Okay. So it's a detached garage.
Yes.
Is it above the garage or?
It's actually goes above the garage. It's on the side and then
Okay.
it's 2 stories.
All right.
You'll note that the septic has to be cleaned every 5 years, so that's going to be coming up on you pretty soon.
Yes.
Okay, it's a one bedroom. Okay.
So so on one side of the garage, so you enter the accessory apartment from ground level?
Yes, true.
Okay. So there's a portion of it that's 2-story and then,
Yeah, basically, I guess the legal bedroom and the kitchen and kind of living area, bathroom, shower is on the first floor. The top floor is just one kind of a loft kind of
okay,
area.
gotcha.
Okay, this is in an R80 residential district. Okay. Sir, did you have any other comments that you'd like to make?
No.
Okay. Why don't we take this out for public comment? We can put it online. If anybody wishes to speak in regard to this application, call in. The Zoom number is listed on the screen. Just insert the Zoom meeting ID number and we will bring you on so you can comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in regard to this application? Nope. No one present does. Any further comments from board members while we're waiting?
No, I'm good.
Just to clarify my earlier comment, looks like the original building is 1958, but it was replaced in 97.
Okay. Oh, I see the comment there, yes. So it was before the 1990, technically before the 1992, but, okay. Paul, Denise, do we have anybody coming on to speak in regard to this application?
No, there isn't anybody.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna close it down. Any further comments, questions from the board? Last chance here?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, sir, anything
Okay.
you have to say before we vote on the application?
No.
Okay. Can we have a motion as to the type of action?
Type 2?
Second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can we have a motion as to whether we're going to grant or deny the 7-year special exception?
I'll make a motion to accept the application as applied to the board, and it's good for the next 7 years. Second?
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sir, your application.
No, thank you, board, and thank you. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll be in touch via email tomorrow.
You have to stay for the rest.
No, you do not. You're good. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Welcome to the town. Okay, we're going to go to the third item on the agenda this evening. This is the application of Dennis Persico and Corinne Melito. This is an application to renew a special exception use permit for an existing accessory apartment above an existing detached garage of an existing one-family dwelling in an R40 residential district at 266 Mayapack Avenue, Yorktown Heights. Sir, if you're here to represent the applicant, or you are the applicant, can you give us your name and address?
Dennis Persico, 266 Mayapack Avenue.
Okay, great. And this is your 7-year renewal time?
It is
Okay. Have there been any changes to the apartment since last
No,
time it was renewed?
negative.
Okay. And Tom, have you been out there to inspect for the building department?
Yes.
Okay. And everything is as it was?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Have there been any complaints to the building department regarding this?
There have been none.
None. Is the apartment currently occupied?
It is not. I use it for a small business office.
Okay. So you just want to keep it available?
I just want to reserve my rights to use it in that matter. Need arise.
Okay. Just give us a moment while we just look through the compliance list here.
So the house was built in 1944, second story with the accessory apartment added 2011.
Correct above the garage. Attached garage.
Detached?
Yes.
It's one bedroom, so it does have a kitchen and a bathroom there.
Absolutely.
Yep, okay.
And one bedroom, you're right.
Yep.
So the detached garage was always there?
Absolutely.
Just the upstairs that was added?
Correct.
All right, why don't we take this out to the public also? So let's put the meeting ID numbers on the screen. Once again, if anybody wishes to speak in regard to this application, please call in and we'll bring the meeting. Is there anybody present in the room who wishes to speak in regard to this application? Do not have anyone. All right, so we'll just give it a minute. Any further comments from board members, questions, discussion points? Okay. Denise or Paul, do we have anybody coming online who would to comment?
There is nobody.
Okay. All right, so we're going to continue. Last chance from the board. Questions?
Good.
Sir, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain a vote for the type of action.
Type 2?
Second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
And we have a motion as to whether we're going to grant or deny the 7-year special exception use permit.
I'll make a motion to grant a special exception use permit for the accessory apartment at 66 Mayapack Avenue, period of 7 years.
A second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Aye.
Mr. Newman, and Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sir. Your application has been granted. You have to come back and visit in 7 years.
Very good. Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch, Mr. Persico.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the first item on the agenda. This is the application of Victor and Deborah Wu. This was an adjourned application over the past several months. This is an application for an interpretation and area variance related to an in-ground swimming pool in an R80 residential district at 8 Silver Springs Court, Atona. Before we hear this application, I would request that we adjourn the meeting temporarily to go into executive session with Town Council Steve Lewis. Anybody objecting to that at this point in time? No. Okay, so we are going to temporarily adjourn the meeting. We're going to go into executive session and then be back. Melissa, as discussed, I think you have my cell number. So if you just give us like 5 minutes or 3 minutes, you can give a call. I'll put you on speaker so you can hear the executive session.
Okay.
All right, sounds very good. Okay. Good evening again, everyone. We just adjourned the meeting for an executive session with town attorney, and now we're beginning the meeting again. The time is 8:15. So we're going to now address the number one item on the agenda, that of Victor and Deborah Wu. This is an application for an interpretation and area variance related to an in-ground swimming pool in an R80 residential district at 8 Silver Springs Court, Katona. Sir, if you could just give us your name for the record, please.
No, not a problem. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the zoning board, Michael Cristo, Cuddy, and Bader, 445 Hamilton Avenue, White Plains, for the applicants. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Evening. Would you like me to just do an introduction, or do you
If you could keep it brief, yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like my picture should be on the wall.
I've become very familiar with
Or on a
application.
or on a dartboard. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Well,
We're hoping that you have a resolution to the matter.
well, Mr. Chairman, we gave it a lot of work. We appeared with the neighbors and their attorney at your last meeting, prepared to move forward. Unfortunately, it did not work, and we don't have an agreement in place. We were hoping to come to terms, but we couldn't, and we had to proceed forward. And that's why we are still here, asking for relief from the board, and that you exercise first your jurisdiction to hear our application. So, yes, we had, I think, a structure. Unfortunately, we don't have the support of the neighbors, at least that I haven't heard tonight. I haven't heard from their attorney in several weeks, but at this point, we would be asking the board to once again please consider the jurisdictional question. You know why we're here. We've been here a lot. We've used a lot of your time. Your board has been very generous with us in our time and your consideration. We're really here tonight to ask you under your code once more, under 170, 110B, to consider and hear the merits of an area variance application with respect to this pool. We're not looking for special treatment. We're just looking to be fairly considered under the authority your code gives you to entertain applications like this. Again, this application, one that you're familiar with, has not been heard on the merits ever. But there's really extraordinary circumstances, I think, that brought us here tonight, apart from what you already know. If we cannot secure relief from your board, my clients are in a pretty extreme scenario where we have resolved conditionally code violations with Mr. Lewis before the court. Pursuant to that, our options are simple. If the pool, if there is no variance, right, we have to move the pool. We will have to remove it from the ground, pull up all the patio, a lot of masonry units, piping, electric. The crane will have to remove the pool out of the ground. My clients will have to buy another pool and leave it alongside of the current pool that comes out of the ground. If it cracks, God willing it doesn't, they will have to then move it over to be fully conforming with the side yard setbacks, and then close it all back up, do all the masonry all over again. It's an extreme result. It's one that my clients never anticipated in their wildest dreams being faced with. They certainly did not come here trying to get relief from this board for bad behavior. They came here because they expected it to be done right by licensed contractors, and it wasn't. And this is a wild and extreme situation with substantial costs to them. So really, at this point, we're looking for your board's consensus. We're looking for this board to look at the question, at the issues, and just decide to give us the opportunity to be heard on the merits, to give you the hardship analysis, and just to be heard. Your code gives you that discretion. We're not asking for a specific result at the end of that variance application process. You could decide to deny it. And you could do whatever you wish. We just want to get it heard and decided in the first instance. So I think you know the application very well. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions about it, but I think as we've put so much paper in front of you and we spent a lot of your time really going through these issues, I don't want to overstay my welcome, and I certainly don't want to try your patience, but I do ask for respectfully for your reasonableness, your fairness, and looking at your code and just deciding to give this application an opportunity to be heard. So that's our application, and I thank every one of the members of the board for your time. Certainly, Mr. Lewis has been very patient with me, and even the neighbors. I appreciate their work with us to try to get to a settlement. Unfortunately, we couldn't. It was looking promising, but we couldn't get there. So we respectfully ask you to hear the application.
I mean, it seems a shame that you haven't been able to get to a settlement because it hurt both sides.
It does hurt.
It seems like both sides lose from a non-settlement here, but
It does.
So, I mean, can't get involved in the negotiations. I mean,
I would, since there's two parties that made an assertion that there was a settlement at the other meeting, I would ask Mrs. Stanisu, if in fact that there is no settlement and what happened as well, just so we can,
just so we have.
just so we have
record and we know what's
confirmation
going-
that we're indeed dead in the water.
Yeah. So, Mrs. Stanisu, could you come on and just tell us if, what the woos have represented here, that I guess maybe there was a settlement, but now there is not a settlement, that you have both reached an impasse at this point in time?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my position. In November of 2019, November 18th of 2024, when our attorney was actually presented to the board with the many reasons why this application couldn't be heard again. And I want just briefly to remind you that this is the third appeal of WU's application for 8 Silver Springs Court. I want to remind you that this application is not materially different and with no substantial change in facts since the first application. Also, I like to remind you that in July, 07 or 9, 2024, the Supreme Court of Westchester County entered the decision and order saying that the motions to dismiss the case that the WUS they entered against the Zoning Board of Appeals and against us was clearly, the motion to dismiss were granted because the application was untimely and statutorily barred. So Mr. Caruso coming here saying, asking for the third time application to be heard, this is very disrespectful to the rights and to the authority the zoning board has, and disrespect very honestly to us. With respect to the settlement that you are asking me about, is the fact that the WUS, they actually never wanted to enter any settlement agreement with us. And despite the expenses that we encountered, despite the fact that we wanted nothing else but the encroachments and our damaged property to be repaired, they refused to do any good intention settlement. They were just not cooperating, and Mr. Caruso again made a statement that is not accurate. He actually spoke to my attorney 2 weeks ago, and he said very clearly, my clients, meaning the WUS, they are not willing to make any settlement, and that was happening after they entered a guilty plea in the town of Somers, and Mr. Luis knows because we were there, and they promised to the judge in the town of Somers that in month of June, they have the contractors aligned to remove the pool. So they plead guilty. They said, we are going to remove the pool. And then 2 weeks later, to my attorney, after my attorney contacted Mr. Caruso, he was the one trying to get the settlement done. Mr. Caruso said very clearly, my clients, they don't want to make a settlement. They are going to move the pool. So now what he's doing here, asking for the third time to be heard. We know all this application up and down. We know this for years.
And they just lying. They don't make a mistake. Nobody wants to look for the truth from the day one. They want to make the pool there. They knew on purpose. They step on my property, and I spend already $100,000 with the lawyers to protect my property. These people, they are insane. They gypsy.
Sir?
I'm sorry. He was very upset because.
And ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I had asked about settlement and I got a lot, I heard you about how we got here and the procedural, and we have our town attorney here who's reminded us of the procedural, but you, both parties came before us and said there was a settlement. And
we said we are willing, we are willing to work on settlement. And our position was from the very beginning to want to work.
Didn't you come to basic terms at that time?
I have some clarity for you on that, Mr. Lansky. So I pulled my emails preceding our last meeting. Starting at the turn of the year, in connection with us reaching out to our engineer, Joel Greenberg, I began to draft a settlement agreement, work on terms of Mr. Singleton in January. I have the emails in front of me. February, there's emails exchanged. And I have a dialogue with Whitney through March and an agreement that I had drafted that Whitney and I had worked on pretty extensively. The final form of it was transmitted to Mr. Singleton here, March 18th, in PDF, attached for the execution by the Stancius. It was never executed. So what happened after that was I asked for the agreement to be considered. I got no response. And my clients decided to take another track to resolve the code violations that were outstanding, that were looming large. We addressed them. I'm sorry, Stephen, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I think the question that Mr. Lansky asked is that on April 15th, at the last ZBA meeting, at the conclusion, after an executive session, both you and Mr. Singleton came in and represented to this board that you had settled the case.
And we had.
That was April 15th. So I think.
After the March date
Right.
of a draft.
So I think that the question that's being posed is, what were you talking about on April 15th and what happened?
What we were talking about at the time was we had settled with them on March, and there was an agreement that laid out how that would get effectuated. And I believe, Stephen, you and I spoke, and possibly with Whitney, that the settlement avenue would be to present a lot line adjustment or an application to planning. And that's when the engineer started to get re-engaged to prepare that. And that application couldn't be finished, and we couldn't come to terms on that because my office and Mr. Singleton's office were trying to negotiate whether there would be small gives and small takes of property along the property line from one to the other in mutual exchanges. And we could not come to terms on how to do that. And we never reached an agreement. So that planning board subdivision application, or lot line application rather, that could not proceed. And that was the basis of our representation, I believe, in April.
Did you think
Yes.
about doing an easement versus doing lot line adjustments and avoiding planning and presenting that?
So that's a
Path?
that's a good point. The easement question was explored very early, and I believe that was met with a lot of resistance because there was a lot of opposition to ceding or appearing to cede rights to one's property to reward our mistake, my client's mistake.
But if the issue boils down to one way versus mutual land changing hands, you could do a joint easement for setback purposes, where both parties would have an easement for setback purposes of 20 feet or whatever it is, and have that recorded in both chains of title so that either party could have access to the rear of their property from the other one as they needed. And that would likely resolve, I can't speak for any board, but I've seen that resolve this issue without going to planning board and without any property changing hands.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that strategy. That's a good way to deal this up. But there were some ideological divides about whether that was capitulating. And I can't speak for the Stancius or their attorney as to why that wasn't a favorable solution early on. I honestly don't recall at this point, but I believe it was discussed, and it wasn't favorable to our neighbors.
Mrs. Stanisu and your husband, is there any opportunity for you guys to do an easement or do something else where you're going to resolve your problems and have some financial compensation and the pool can stay? Or would you like the board to hear this application and make a determination on it?
I want just to make a quick point to Mr. Caruso's affirmation earlier regarding the settlement of the board.
Why don't we answer, I think a board member asked a question. Why don't you
I-
answer that question first?
Actually has to express my opinion as well. You heard Mr.
Yeah, we can allow you to do that, but we're all trying to follow some logic here. So if you could answer that question first, maybe, and then give your opinion.
And the logic of that is this: the settlement didn't go through because they wanted to give us to give 400 square feet of land versus 200 square feet of their land. So how that was a fair exchange? So
Okay,
that's
but what I'm saying is you can
that, okay.
neither party has to give any land and you
I
might be able
understand.
to resolve your problem.
1 to 2, is that something that you'll feel like that it's right?
Oh, I'm not speaking of the past. There
No,
are,
the
but I'm
current,
saying today you're here today and you have an opportunity, there's another idea to work through this where you don't give up any land and it's not unfair in terms of 1 to 2 or anything else. Is that something that you're willing to consider or would you like us to hear his application? I'm trying to see if there's one last opportunity for you and the parties to get together before this goes the other direction.
with,
No right to hear the
with,
application.
with all respect, I don't believe you have the right to hear the application one more time. With all
Okay,
respect, this is the third.
I understand the legal argument and fair enough. Let me say it differently. Would you like us to proceed or would you like to have another opportunity to settle this and see if you can't come to an easement or something else where you don't give up any land?
Just give me a moment, please.
Sure.
Noi nu avem pe Whitney aici și dacă ascult să le spune acum. Noi nu avem pe ăsta ca să iată ce
Și dacă nu-l avem,
nu l-a el vrea să-i asculte aplicația de meriți.
și
Este.
dacă îi dă, să gem pe ei.
Ai tu bani să-i mai scuiți și
Pe bord, cum el a avut bani și noi avem bani. No problem.
Okay.
Spune-le lor, we're gonna sue you.
Nu, vorbește frumos, calmează și vorbește calmează.
Ok, fine.
Nu te întreb.
Nu
mai desface niciun settlement.
Să-ți muți. They said they're gonna move the pool, let them move the pool.
Okay. I think for 3 years we gave them any opportunity to settle this. And when we first appeared to this court, we tell them very clearly that let's settle. They were just buying time and they were just in counter expenses. So from our perspective, we gave them any chance. They are not good, intense people to have this solved in the settlement manner. And at the same time, with all respect for the zoning board, you don't have the right to hear the same application for the third time without any changes in circumstances and an application that was previously rejected as being untimely. Was untimely the first time, was untimely the second time, is not untimely for the third time. For sure not.
I think I can put a pin in the settlement discussion issue for the board, if you like. I've dealt with a lot of people in my career. Mr. Lansky has, other attorneys, other professionals have, in every walk of life. The settlement in this case, believe me, there was no lack of effort. My office undertook a lot of drafting, a lot of engineering expense, a lot of revisions, a lot of calculations. And the best way I can summarize it is in the Peanuts sketch where Lucy moves the football. That is what we encountered. We could not get any further. And my client said, enough. We cannot do this. Numbers kept fluctuating without any justification. My client said had enough. And that's why we're here. We presented what we thought were the best options we could without remortgaging the house to pay off what they thought their expenses were. We can't go any further. My client, I just asked Dr. Wu, do we want to go through this further? And he responded to me, we've done this already many times, and I don't want to waste the board's time, respectfully. But that's how the settlement ended.
I only approached it because at the end of the day, your client and the Stanises are going to go home and they're going to be right next So it's better to repair the bridges earlier than later.
Yeah.
Rather than have people have resentment in their homes.
You make the assumption that a deal is going to repair things. I think.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'm not there, so it's fair. I made my effort and it sounds like we're done. So, fair enough. I defer to the board.
We certainly took that as our banner, and we marched with that, because nothing ends well unless it's fully resolved with neighbors, and it's very difficult. And I think Mr. Lansky hit it on the head. You know, you really, nobody wins when it's outside of your control. But I really want to reiterate to the board that we have exhausted every possible avenue, and there's nothing more I can do other than give away my client's property. I just can't do that. I can't do that. So,
Yeah, it seems unfortunate because the Woos will incur a significant expense,
enormous,
all right?
enormous.
Huge expense, and the Stanisus will receive no settlement amount or anything else from this. So, you know, it seems like the decision here is both sides lose, but listen, that is not up to us. You are the parties, the two of you have to make a decision, but, you know, we were just hoping that, we thought that this was resolved. We were hoping it would be resolved,
Yes.
but
And
the
yeah.
logical procedure here would be to resolve it, you know, between
Yeah.
the two of you. But I realize if both parties are set in their position, then it is.
Yeah, Whitney and I really did get to a point, and we represented to this board in good faith that we had what we believed was an accord, and I think we did. I'm sure we did. But as these things go, sometimes when they're in, you know, when they're back and there's more to do, sometimes they erode, and it wasn't. I wouldn't assign any blame. It's a dynamic that sometimes you can't control, despite your best efforts. We tried. And we appreciate everything this board has done to help us facilitate.
So if both sides here are telling us there's no chance of resolution, I think we should go to the application. That's what I think I'm hearing from both sides.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Now, Mrs. Stanisu, I don't see there's any resolution that can be made here, so we're just going to proceed then.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's address the application at hand. This is an application for an interpretation and area variance as indicated related to the in-ground swimming pool. Comments from board members? Let's discuss what we want to do here. I think well, let me,
Is there anything, so, Mr. Caruso, clearly the board had made a decision on an application in the past. And it was our understanding that there wasn't anything materially different from an earlier application.
Well, let me just correct you respectfully. It never made a decision on the merits. That's the critical piece here.
So yes, we made a jurisdictional.
Correct. And your code says we can appeal from any order or decision from any party charged with enforcing your code. That gentleman's sitting right in front of you. And that's what we did.
just because of the issuance of the violation.
And the fact that it,
Now, keep in mind, if we were to make a decision that every time a violation is issued, that it reestablishes the time frame.
and that's not what we're saying. I don't want to, I'm not trying to hoodwink this board. I'm not here to say, hey, we pulled a fast one and here's a new violation. That's not what we're here to do. We are here to say, in between the very first violation, which was the application challenging it, which was beyond 60 days, was withdrawn, and the board acknowledged that. And after the C of O denial, right, which emanated from my office, you know, bringing Mr. Tuma into a mandamus action, the settlement of that was he denied the C of O for the pool. We challenged that, then we went to this board, and this board said, no, we don't have jurisdiction. And then we litigated that. Now we are back here after violation notices issued under, you know, slightly different circumstances, but they're violations. They had order language in them, and they directed that there were violations. We appealed them, and then we're within your code's language that says it's an appealable order, and that's why we're here. Yes, it is the same ultimate relief, but as we indicated to the board, and as I expressed to the court didn't agree with me. That's fine. The material
So it's not, doesn't have to do with
You
it.
can let him finish.
Yeah, we'll let you speak, Mrs. Stanisu, after we hear from,
I asked him a question, like I asked you a question.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll wrap it up pretty quickly. I know you've heard a lot of me, but the way we got here is why you can hear this seemingly for a third time, if you will. And right now, I imagine the question in your mind is, why should we allow you to do this and every other person who comes in who doesn't like the first result to then try and coax out another decision?
How about that?
Well, you're going to have to look at that holistically each time. Our tactic here was not tactic, it was reflexive, right? And we were seeking any opportunity really to come before you and present a fulsome application, not under some strange technicality. Your code says any order, any notice, any violation, I believe. I can quote it. That's why we're here. It doesn't say one that's, not identical to the one that preceded it. It says any. Any means this one that we're challenging. So that's why we're here. Yes, it is the same relief. I don't believe that if you allowed this to be heard, again, not deciding the variance itself, just allowing us to be heard, I do not think this is going to create a flood of applicants coming in here saying, you know what? You gave it to Caruso and you gave it to Wu. We're all coming in and doing the same thing. You're the gatekeeper. Every time this happens, you can shut the door right in their face. And you're free to do that to me tonight. But I would respectfully urge that we are here under a years-long process that didn't just happen overnight. We have, I believe, the code behind us, and you have the discretion, if you wanted to, even to vary that requirement and hear the application anyway. And I would respectfully urge you to do that, given the extraordinary circumstances and really the way we got here.
because the issue is there's not really anything materially different here. And
So he's saying the individual facts and the time and the efforts and the measures which they've gone through distinguish this in some regard. And the hardship and the other pieces which relate directly to this application are different than other applications. And so it goes back to what is materially different, right? Which is, the magic words we're taking out of an opinion. And Bill has been pretty steadfast that, pool's in the same spot. That's the gravamen of the thing.
thing is,
And so I guess the board has to determine whether all of this feels materially different or whether it really is just a pool.
and we had determined that this was time barred. So it.
Yes.
Well, yes, yeah. And
Well,
Yes.
the timing of it is an easy one to answer. And again, the quoted language from your code, which is ultimately, and the town law that is it's modeled after, is what you have to work from. The Board of Appeals shall hear and decide appeals from and review any order, requirement, decision, or determination made by any administrative official charged with enforcement of this chapter. So the 2024 notice of violation and the ticket that accompanied it, those are why we're here. We challenged them on time. We challenged them with 60 days. That's not even in question.
I'll just say, I'm not buying the argument. I'm a no. I believe it's still time. I don't need any more input. I've studied this thoroughly. It was time barred once before. You got another violation for the same thing. It's still time barred. That's all I have to say. I don't need any more information. Ready to vote.
Okay, I think that's a bit narrow because under your code, you have to consider circumstances where there may be changes in the order that emanate. And if you decide that one order that's maybe not materially different from another, but you're going to just bar it because you had another order in the past that wasn't appealed.
Excuse me. With all the respect, even the Supreme Court of Westchester County says clearly, and the order and decision, the application was untimely and statutory barred.
That's a different application. Sorry.
No, it's not different application. The pool didn't move 1 inch from the same place. Did move? No, it's the same application for the seeking the same relief. It didn't move any pool from
It's
over
a
there.
different application, but the question is whether it's seeking the same relief. And what Tom is saying is that he believes it's seeking the same relief, so it's not materially different. what Mr. Caruso is saying is clearly it's a different application, but he thinks it is different. And so that's what the board, somebody here on the board will make a,
Mr. Can make
You can
different
seek the same relief from different
that
orders. That's a
accurate.
fact.
No, it's not any fact. The facts are these. The application is not materially different and no substantial change in facts took place. That is the reality. And thank you so much, Mr. Zoning Board. I think for more than a year, we hear more than enough about this. With Mr. Caruso trying to present the situation differently is just unheard of. No, it's the same pool. It's in the same location. Nothing has been changed. And it's the same application.
Okay, I think we understand your position.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay,
Someone have a motion?
okay, well, do we want to open this up for public comment? All right, let's put it up for public comment and see if anybody wishes to speak in regard to this application before we vote. So once again, anybody online, call in, you can speak in regard to the application. There's no one else present in the zoning board room here, so there's no one from the public that can speak who's present here. Paul, are you able to put this up on screen?
Yes, you can speak in support of it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, while we're waiting to see if anybody, Dr. Wu, please come up and, yeah, you can speak, but please come to the microphone. Just give us your name and address just for the record. But please come to the microphone.
Come on up.
Yeah, yeah. We have to archive everything here, so.
Would you like to see these at all?
They're
Would you
photos.
like to see these?
I'm sorry, what are these?
What are
They're photographs
Have they changed?
Of the photographs of the pool and
of various things,
well, we've seen,
which I will speak.
we've seen photographs of the pool and, it's a very nice pool. It's a beautiful.
Have you seen surveys?
We have seen the surveys. Yes, we have the surveys and everything. Yep.
Have they seen this survey?
I'd be happy to look at it.
Yeah, if you want to give it to us, we'll take a look at it. But yeah, we have quite an extensive stack of documents, surveys, pictures.
I'm
So
not
I think
happy.
we know the situation,
Actually, I have a question for each one of you. Do you think I did this on purpose? you think I'm
That's
trying to get
not for us to determine. It seems like there was an error on the survey
Yes, there was.
and, but, remember, we have to follow the zoning
That's fine.
law and the code. And even if we might sympathize with a particular individual, that doesn't necessarily mean we can just vote that way because we want to.
no.
We've taken an oath to follow the code. And, that's something that I think all the board members want to make sure that.
I only say that because it's been presented that I did. And I've never been able to get up here and say I didn't.
Okay.
And I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah,
I think
And that matters more to me than the result of whether you vote for this variance or not.
I think,
Okay.
I can't speak to other board members. Do I think this was intentional? No, I think.
I'm here to claim responsibility for the mess because it happened on my watch. I can certainly explain in detail how it happened, but you probably already know. I don't know, we need to go into that, but it was based off of plans that we had worked on our property back in 2007. 2007, we modified what was there to create a patio, to create retaining walls, etc. And it was with the blessing of not only the town, but also the neighbors who lived there at the time. And we had lived that way for a dozen years. And it was all built along how the properties were landscaped and maintained for years before we even got there. So we had no reason to think that what this pool was going to be built was going to be improper. We just had no reason to think that.
I would find it hard to believe that somebody would intentionally build something in a setback area where they could have fit it on their own property in another area. But, and certainly we know we have surveys that show that there were errors on the surveys. It looked like they're wrong. So we certainly understand that. But, once again,
I think,
the board can
But-
make a decision just based on
well,
sympathetic.
I think a lot of of us have empathy for your situation. And if we were hearing an application on the equities of that application, hardship and, you know, some of the facts which I'm sure you would like to articulate further would be very important. But we're at a threshold question of jurisdiction. And that's the, you know, that's Mike's point is we've never heard the application. And a lot of what you're going to say is really about the application. And this is what we have garnered so far. And what a couple of my board members have expressed is that they're concerned that this is a jurisdictional issue. But I can say as another person here who's witnessed this, I have a lot of empathy for your situation, and I was hoping for a resolution. And I think most all the other board members were hoping for a resolution.
Well, I'm obviously not a lawyer. I know you are, obviously. I'm represented by that lawyer. I'm not speaking as a lawyer, and I'm not even speaking on the jurisdiction. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
From an empathy standpoint, I would like to show you this.
yeah,
Okay.
please.
You're welcome to show us whatever you
Yeah.
like.
By all means.
Yeah, you should speak at the microphone up here, and then I could pass it around to the board members.
This, I'm not sure. We had discovered this.
I'm looking at a survey here.
This is a survey we discovered. As you will notice, it is dated in January 2020.
Right.
It's dated,
Of the Stanisu's property.
it is a survey that they had obtained,
Mm-hmm.
and it was obtained while the pool was still under construction. I could show you the date of what the pool looked like in or on January of 2020. And I highlighted a little bit of the wall, because it's a very unusual looking wall that is on the survey, which you can see on the picture is clearly what we had built. In other words,
I like, if you don't
it
mind,
was built.
Mrs. Stanisu, we'll let you speak in a moment. Just want to hear one person at a time.
In other words, there was a survey while it was being built, and no action was taken then. I wish I had known about that, sir. I didn't.
You're telling us that your neighbor got a survey and knew that this pool was going to be in a setback.
I'm saying,
Yes.
what other conclusion can you come
That's
to?
Close it.
not true, with all respect. That is not true.
Okay, we're just, you can,
We'll give you a chance,
you'll
Mrs. Stanisu. Yes.
give you a chance to speak. I just want to make sure I understand.
I'm just showing you a document that I was made aware maybe
I'm
a year ago.
what
So,
document who is
I'm not
presenting?
trying. I'm
Yeah,
not
Mrs.
trying.
Stanisu, just give us a moment. We'll let you speak. We're going to let everybody, have their say. So.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that a lot was done. A lot was done wrong. A lot could have been done better.
This is going to be.
And I'm just here to say
I mean, it's
some of the facts.
right. I mean, it's an interesting item, but I don't know that that changes.
No, I don't expect to change.
And what
It's not going to change jurisdiction. It's not going to change,
Right.
Your ways of judging a variance. I'm not even looking for that.
Right.
I'm just looking to be heard. Okay. It is, there was a time when that is our neighbors, brought this to our attention, and then we walked the survey. They had another survey done. This was 22 or something like that. And we walked the survey.
Yeah.
And I and Panta walked the survey. It was raining that day. And we literally watched the guy put in the stakes one by one. And yes, there was stone and fencing that was across but the actual pool was not. I actually felt relieved, but the point is, after discovering that, I feel like I've just been played from day one. I'm walking the property with this man, and he knew the results already. And so this whole thing appeared to be some sort of preconceived plan, and it all kind of made sense when they quickly lawyered up and made clever, I'll admit, clever maneuvers to block me from being in front of you. And all I'm saying, you want to know why a deal did not come even after trying many times, even after making an offer, even after shaking hands in front of you, we had an offer. I was willing to go through with that offer, even though I had second thoughts about it. But just to settle it, I was willing to do it that night. I'm actually glad that we don't have a settlement because my conscience is so much clearer now that I don't make a deal with these people. And I'm sorry, I don't know what you may think of me, but a good name is more desirable than riches. Proverbs 22:1. And that is how I'm living by. All I want is to clear my name. All I want is your opinion of me to be an honest one. And that's it. Do what you like with the jurisdiction. Do what you like with the variance. I know what I'm going to be doing, and I know how I live. And my wife and I have gotten so much closer because of this.
Good.
When I say to Panta and Annie, I thank God that you are our neighbors, because Jesus put us together for a reason. And we are learning those reasons. That is Debbie and I, my wife, Debbie. I hope you are too. The way you're living your lives, I hope you change it.
And
I
since
am-
Victor for that, and since we got to this point,
Okay, so Mrs. Stanislaw, okay,
So anyway, I just wanted to
Yeah.
put that out there.
okay, thank you. I want to keep things moving here.
I understand.
So, all right, yeah, Mrs. Stanislaw, we want to try to wrap this up because I think the board is,
Understand.
going to make a decision on this, and if you have something else to say, I'll listen to it at this time.
I wanted just to say 3 points I have to make. First of all, I never knew where they are building the pool in my property until 2021 when we wanted to do a refinance for our property, and then I saw the encroachments they did in my property. Second, we discovered then in 2021 that they had actually a survey from 2019, not the 2007, but the 2019 survey made to them, saying clearly what is
That
the
is
property.
incorrect.
That is true. I have the document.
We're going to let her speak.
Whitney had the survey from your first lawyer. You can't deny that. It's in a paper. Yeah. And third of all, since you disputing that survey and you said our survey is not right, then we called the third survey company that came and placed the stacks on the property line. And with that being said, at the court in Somers, you were ordered to remove your encroachments from our property. And if you remember, Victor, that was the only thing we asked. When we called you at our table and we show you what is the survey, we said we are neighbors. All what we want is you please to remove your encroachments. What you did, you took us to court and you start to dispute the property line, you and Debbie. And then I want to close with this. You mentioned that you are glad there is no settlement. So I hope the board hears that, because that says exactly what was your position all the time. You never wanted to make the settlement. You dispute the property line. You encounter us many expenses. You took us to court. You took the board to the court. We had to defend ourselves, spend tens of thousands of dollars of attorney fees to protect us for your mistakes.
No
and
mistakes on purpose. On
for
purpose. You claiming that you honest guy. Shame on you, Victor. And you put God in front of this. Thank God that you put God in front of this, Victor. Shame on you.
Okay, I think for both sides here, if we're just getting to a personal
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
and forth, we have to decide on the facts before us on the zoning law. And,
Thank you.
we know there's a lot of bad feelings and a lot of hurt feelings here and that. But I think it's probably time for the board to make a decision on this as to how we're going to proceed at this point.
Thank you.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm sorry, that survey was not from 2019. Sorry, there was a mistake. I have proof that. I have the actual survey. It's from 2021. If they misjudged it and therefore misjudged it, I feel very bad about that.
Yeah.
But that, we
You
did not
built
have a
the
survey in
pool-
2019. I'm
you
sorry,
built-
you are wrong.
built the pool in 2020 and we have the survey in 2021. How are we supposed to know where you build the pool?
Okay,
I
all right.
think,
That's not
Yeah, I-
making sense.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you, everybody. I think we've heard enough from both sides. I think it's time for us to make a decision on this matter. Denise, Paul, I assume nobody called in to speak in regard to this matter?
They did not.
Okay, okay. I don't think a motion is necessary for the type of action. This is not really that. This is an indication and how we're going to proceed. So we have
Vic,
before
just a
us.
Melissa,
sorry, it's Melissa. Just a question.
Sure.
Is there just speculation into this new survey, or is there actually a survey as a new material fact that wasn't part of any prior application?
There was a survey shown to the board, which we had not seen before, which suggests that this was a survey of the neighbor property, of the Stanisow property, which suggests that they knew where the property boundary was at the time of the construction. And we have an attestation from Mr. that they knew that where the pool was going, they had a survey, and they knew all along that he'd be putting it in the wrong location and that he didn't have a survey. So we have, you can call that new information. We haven't seen, but that's what we looked at tonight, which is a photo dated of the pool, a survey dated as well, time-stamped and dated for photos. And that is what he presented, and it appears to be factual from my reading.
That was
Okay.
21 and the pool was built in 2020.
Yep.
Not
What's
make-
the date stamp, Art?
Yeah, Mrs. Stanisu, just hold on one second. Melissa, I'm sorry, did you want to say something additional?
I was just asking Bart, what's the date stamp on this new survey?
I can clearly see the date stamp on the photo, January 14th, 2020. I'm going to defer to someone with glasses for the date stamp on the survey. I could be over 50.
It says here, okay, it's the surveyor's signature, surveyed January 28th, 2020. That prepared January 31st, 2020.
So
That was not our survey. That was not our survey. We never had a survey in January 2020.
Quite honestly, if we could just step back for a minute, I find it hard to believe that either side wanted to intentionally create this problem or intentionally create this. I find it hard that either side would want to do that. I just don't see.
Yeah, that survey doesn't go to the basis for you deciding jurisdiction.
No,
It's really collateral, but
right. So listen, this discussion and this argument back and forth, I don't think is really relevant to the facts that the board has to look at to make a determination.
do you want me to just close in 30 seconds or less? And
Okay, you got to really be
I got 30 seconds for it.
30 seconds because we have to move on.
I know. I'm getting
Heard a lot of these.
Mr. Newman wants to throw a dart at me right now. But the bottom line here is, everyone, with a straight face, this is an application, again, under 170, 110, your code says you shall hear and decide appeals from and review any order, requirement, decision, or determination made by an administrative officer charged with enforcing it. Our ticket in 24 was appealed in 60 days. It's that simple. It doesn't matter whether it goes to the same relief. That's your code. You have to read that alone, period.
No, Mike, that is not true. In the court, you don't say to the zoning board what they have to do. They know better what they have to do.
Exactly. You're not a judge there.
Okay, yes, listen, each side makes an argument. We're going to make an independent decision, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so does the board want to have any? I think right now we've heard from both sides. I don't think we need to hear any more. Does the board want to have any further discussions on this before we make a decision here?
I just, yeah, I mean, I don't see the merits of that argument. If a continued violations or determinations are made about the same thing, and that restarted the 60-day clock every time for materially the same application. Okay, a lot of other things have gone on. Now there's been violations, they've gone to court, made settlements with the court. Of course, there's always going to be, time is going to progress and things are going to happen, right? So the set of circumstances in the future are not going to be exactly the same, but what it is exactly the same is it's the same application, right? It's continued determinations made on the same issue, which is the setback of the pool. Or COs, whether it's a CO for the pool or a setback violation or anything else, you know, am I really expected to think that every time the building inspector makes a determination that I reopen every variance?
I think
Oh.
Mike's point is fair in part that any applicant has a right to be here based upon any order from the building inspector. Now, how we decide whether that's materially different, he has a right to be here.
Oh, sure, he's got a right to be here, the application
100%,
here,
right? So
here.
just accept that. That's our code.
Yeah.
Our code also always gets interpreted in favor of the applicant if there's any ambiguity, right? So throw that in the mix. And then, you know, the final piece is what has changed, if anything, and what is materially different about this application. And I hear you that, and I've heard Bill, that the pool is the pool. You don't feel that any of these other circumstances matter. The court proceeding with the town, the resolution there, the, we had, you know,
Denial of-
CO, the denial of the CO,
Fence, patio,
the patio, the,
all that.
the fact that there was equitable things done, like removing the runoff and the work in the woods. So if that's your feeling, that's your feeling. I think you're very much entitled to that.
I mean, my comments are that see anything materially different here. I just, I don't see that this is properly before us. It's time barred. We determined that already. I don't think anything has changed, and I think we have to make a decision if we want to hear this or not. That's our decision. I don't know. Any further comments?
I just that, I have empathy for the applicant and
Oh, yes.
I'd like to hear you know, I've heard.
I have empathy for, yeah, I have a lot of empathy for all parties, right? And I wish that we could have gotten to a resolution on this. I don't think, I think, again, I think both sides lose in the end here, which is unfortunate. And you know, I think this board has made an extraordinary effort to try to get to a resolution. I understand that the parties just couldn't agree. And I wish there were another solution. But I don't see how we can hear this case on the merits. And if we could, it's a pretty extreme variance, so I don't even know on its merits if it would get through.
Right, that's another thing too. If we did hear the case,
Well, then we could hear about the equities, could make our determination about.
but the variance would be, the
And
area
the
variance
other
would be
factors,
significant, right?
But, you know, but on a jurisdictional basis, we don't get into that.
Right, right.
So,
Right.
Okay, so I think we should vote on whether we want to hear this matter or not. Unless someone has another comment before we vote. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Sure,
Yeah.
Arnie, go right ahead.
I will say that I know people very much similar situation, and it bothers me, it hurts me a lot to see neighbors that do not get along, because I will say that I was in that situation a long time ago. And it really hurts to see, again, neighbors are not willing to work with each other. You know, I just wish after all this I can truly see one neighbor moving away. And I hope that neighbors will put their differences to the side, shake hands, and move on as good neighbors. That's all I have to say regarding what is going on here with the situation.
Nu vorbește ea, nu poți să vorbesc over other people. Stop it.
Yeah,
Excuse me, ma'am,
yeah, we don't want to hear any more.
no more
discussion
from,
from the applicants
Okay.
or anybody else. Yeah.
I am voicing my opinion.
Yeah,
of
they were
how I
just
feel about
speaking to
neighbors.
each other. They
Okay.
were
Yeah.
speaking to each other,
Oh, okay, thank you.
but they're muted now.
Okay. Now, that's all I have to say regarding how I feel about the neighbors. What's going on. And it's very costly, no matter what, and there's no winners.
Okay.
No.
Any further comments? by
Before
any
we,
members?
yeah, this is Melissa, and I'm just curious of the boards. I certainly know our sort of history on this case and the time bar argument and the materially different. But I'm just curious of other board members' feelings on the wording in 170-110A that Mr. Caruso was raising about hear and decide any order. And I know we may not get to the conclusion that a variance could be granted based on the variance size that's being requested, but if we are really looking at the literal any order requirement, I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing where this order is then excluded.
So just to follow on Melissa's point, so if someone were issued, and Tom, if you could answer this question for him, if someone were issued a violation, a setback violation, would they likely be issued multiple violations over a period of time they failed to comply?
When a violation is issued, there's a time frame in which you can remedy that violation. And individuals, the violation is brought to their attention, they have an opportunity to deal with it, to resolve it.
This was a compliance.
Just let me ask my question.
If
Yeah, I know, but
violation is not complied with within the time frame that's allotted, then a court appearance ticket follows.
What is that?
Right, so would that be two?
Typically, depending on the severity of it, it's typically 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
this is a compliance order here,
Okay,
right here,
all right.
July 18th. This is what we challenged. I can read it. Please be advised, your property is in violation of Chapter 74-4 of the Town Code of the Town of Somers. Please address the preceding issues that pertain within 30 days or receipt of this notice. In an effort to avoid further legal action, contact me with any questions. Respectfully, Robert Russell.
This is all regarding the same issue,
Sure. Yeah, that's
But it-
the order.
But so he,
but the issues haven't changed. Nothing has
yeah,
changed.
but
We're following up. It's a follow-up on the same issue. I'd like to hear from.
Yes. What's just been read to you is a notice of violation,
Right.
compliance order, having to do with something completely different than what you heard tonight. It had to do with the basement apartment located at the Wu's residence. That's what this document that was just read to you had to deal with.
So this has nothing to do with.
Hold on, I might have,
It was-
hold on. If I gave you the wrong information, hold on. Forgive me. That was unintentional.
And
Thank you.
I'd like,
court knows, that's been remedied. The
I-
Wu's came in, made a request for a building permit. They did what they had to do and a C of O as mentioned.
For the basement. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You issued an information which was in order to prosecute. This is a filed court document that says there is a violation.
Please take a look at this, Steve.
Yes.
Give me your opinion on it.
This is an accusatory instrument.
And what do you do with an accusatory instrument?
You could just go to the microphone.
This is an accusatory instrument that charges a person with a town code violation. It doesn't give them time to remedy. It doesn't give them an opportunity to fix it. It basically says, you have been charged with a violation that is now in front of the Justice Court of the Town of Somer.
Right.
And if you if we are successful in proving beyond a reasonable doubt that this information is true, then you can receive a penalty from the court, which is a fine, a jail sentence, conditional discharge, any of the above.
Yeah, and that's a result of a determination made by the prosecutor sworn out to enforce the code. That's a determination that Ms. DiPolito just said appears right in your code.
That's not from the building department, though.
This document is sworn out. The complainant is an officer of your building department right here. It's subscribed by Ms. Skirmer, who notarizes it. I'm sorry, she's the notary. The subscriber, the complainant, is your code enforcement officer. So
No differently than a police officer signing an information saying that there's been a violation of the penal code. This was the code enforcement officer saying that certain facts exists that support the information to be prosecuted in the town court.
It's a supporting documentation.
That's all it is.
How is that?
but the issue is, and I'll give you
Is it-
case law because I gave it to you already.
May I just finish?
Sure, of course.
It's not a determination. It basically is, you violated the town code,
Mhm.
and this is a charge saying that it's in violation. And if you're not in violation, then there'll be no prosecution. You'll be acquitted. It's the people of the state of New York versus Deborah Wu. That's what the information says.
Right.
And the information is a sworn document that is subscribed by the individual in the code enforcement office who determines in 17010 of your code, the determination is made that there is a violation. We can appeal that. Whether it results in a prosecution, which it did here and often does, this is the product of a determination. A determination was made. That's what this says.
Well, would you agree that a determination was made initially,
Absolutely.
and then there's a series of procedural steps, and this is one of those steps?
And we are availing ourselves of your appellate jurisdiction now.
So I know
Exactly what
about,
we're
I
doing.
know you talked about tactics earlier.
It's not a tactic.
Here's like a tactic.
Yes, it is.
We got served with this. We're appealing it like I would do in any other town, any other village, if I had another issue that required relief from the code. That's why it's jurisdictional to you. That's why we can be here.
This is an information stating the people of the state of New York versus Deborah and Dr. Wu. And the reality is, it's not appealable to the Zoning Board of Appeals. It is in fact a local court violation. If this analysis was accurate, then it would preclude any further enforcement after the zoning board made a determination and there was no remedy.
Thank you.
It would prevent the town to come in and do anything else. No enforcement.
We can avail of ourselves.
I think he has a right to make an application, but for me, the question is, if the earlier notice started the statute, so he got, the information is the second notice in a series, right? He has a notice of violation before you do the information. And so that notice of violation, assuming he got that.
No, the notice of violation, I just addressed.
No, that's a separate notify.
Yeah, it was confusing when they were served because they were done
Did a
together.
notice of violation on this one or just an information?
That
We
was
just,
2022. That's when.
That's the original notice of
Yeah.
violation. So, and so that's for me, that's a question being iterated here is whether you start your 60 days on that initial notice of violation versus on a later information.
And that's been determined. It was determined by the board and it was determined by the Supreme Court of Westchester County
Thank
and
you.
on re-argument before the Supreme Court.
not this issue. We're here in 2024 when this information issued. Your code says we can appeal any determination. I'll give you as much case law as you need. This information is an appealable determination, and it fits within the language of your code, which is really what should guide you here. Your code says any
And
determination.
it's very interesting because
So-
they have pled guilty to that information. They have admitted that they were in violation of the town code.
Under conditional discharge, yes, we resolved that.
Absolutely not.
We have a 1-year CD.
No, that's on the third information that was filed.
Okay, all right, Stephen, this is an information, this is a determination. We appealed it. Within 60 days, we're here. Your code says we can do it. It's that simple.
Appeal criminal informations to the zoning board of. If you had a determination that was made
I'll show you case law.
either by plea.
Who,
or
can I
by-
just,
Melissa?
Then an appeal is
I
filed.
just wanted to ask the question of who, on the information determination, who signed off on it? Is it an administrative official who enforces 170 of the code?
Yes, the code enforcement officer.
But it's a supporting document. It's like a supporting affidavit. It doesn't.
No, it's not. It's verified. It's an information that is sworn under penalty of perjury. This isn't supporting. This is an affirmation sworn under that penalty.
And you think that document gives you the right to come back?
I don't think
and
it
read
does.
The case.
I don't think it does.
I mean, if in the black letter reading of.
In the wording of 170-10.
Yeah,
It does have
it does.
It does.
But
When you say right to be here, he has a right to be here, but that doesn't mean we have jurisdiction.
well,
No, we have a right to be here jurisdictionally. That's what it means.
I
well,
think it
He
would,
has a right to make an
I think
application.
we would then,
well, I mean, it's clear what that thing says. He has a right to appeal it, right? We can all agree on that piece of it.
Appeal it to whom?
To us, right? It's a sworn instrument. He has a right to appeal it and come here. But Mike, I'm still stuck with the earlier question, was whether if it's the same thing in a series of sworn instruments, where does the timeline?
This is a new instrument, Bart.
Is it-
No, I understand.
Melissa was trying to.
Yeah, let her. Sorry. No.
Yeah, no.
no,
told-
no, I'm listening.
Okay, Melissa.
I,
With all respect, Mr. Caruso is just trying to make everybody confused here to get to his point, which he doesn't have a point.
Right.
I would just say that we are very capable of understanding what Mr. Caruso is or is not saying. No one is confused here.
No, he's trying to make everybody confused because clearly
Maybe
he's
you.
used the information from other cases to other situations to try to come to this board for something that was already decided, something that is not timely application and something that is timely barred. That is what he's doing.
The pool is in violation. It's not fixed.
Everywhere you're looking, the pool is not moved 1 inch, is the seeking same relief for the
Yeah,
same
Mrs. Stanisu,
situation.
Yeah, we've heard all this before. Okay, yeah, we understand.
Thank
So we understand your position.
So why we going over and over? If everybody understand, we're going for 2 hours over and over. This guy to just reach himself.
Well, that's what we do here.
God bless you. You're gonna pay for that, don't worry.
Baby, stop vorbești atât de urât, că abia am calmat. De ce vrei să-i turni împotriva noastră?
Melissa, are you, have any additional to say? Because I felt that you had additional information to give us.
Nope, I don't have anything else.
You,
to say.
Melissa, do you have a motion?
Well, Steve, let me talk to town council first. So Steve, what do you think about what we've heard here? What's your opinion on this?
I think that the board has to make a determination of whether or not they have jurisdiction to hear the instant application. In light of the fact that previously in 2023, they determined that they didn't have jurisdiction because the issue was time barred and that nothing has changed. The pool has not moved. It's the same issue that existed back when the certificate of occupancy was denied back in 2022. The court.
I agree with you there,
said
Steve.
we
We did
don't have
agree that it was,
I'm sorry, go
yeah,
ahead,
then
Melissa.
we did agree that I was just saying, then we agreed that it was time barred and we didn't have jurisdiction because of the 60-day requirement on what was being appealed. We do now in 2023, we didn't have this 2024 determination. Now we have a 2024 determination that is timely appealed. And I would be of the opinion that we would hear the application based on 170-110A.
You've gone away.
Someone's got to make a motion. One way or the other.
Yeah,
Is there merit to that? Is there merit to that argument, Steve?
I don't believe so.
Respectfully disagree.
Every time you try to enforce a violation under the town code doesn't engender a new opportunity for the zoning board.
I think that would be my position.
I'm doing the very same thing in the town of Harrison right now. The exact thing we're doing here. And information was issued. We have appealed it to the zoning board. The board has accepted it. It is being heard. This is not new. And your code says plain, clear as day.
I mean, I could see somebody playing this and getting a violation issued and, oh, I can open it up again.
Yeah.
If I missed it, if I missed the time, if I missed 60,
But-
if I missed 60 days response time,
But
I just want to wait for it, get for a violation, and then I'm back in
But
business.
your code enforcement officer has absolute discretion to or to not issue those violations and never open that up. That's his
He
discretion.
would never issue a violation when there isn't a violation that exists.
That's his discretion.
Well,
He can't be forced to
So
do that.
you can't tell him not to issue
We-
a violation then when a violation exists.
No, that's his discretion.
We
I've been to
also-
court on that issue and I've lost because it's his discretion. For example, if he has to decide a C of O application, which I did litigate here, guess what happened? He decided that application. That's not discretionary, but he can absolutely use discretion not to violate, and you will not have that problem. That's the control mechanism, his discretion. It's that simple.
Or
But he's
to
not
amend the
discouraged
code
from issuing a
section.
violation because
It's not
he's
discouraged.
concerned about someone opening up a case. If
Well, they can either
that's a precedent we're setting?
cure it, they can be prosecuted, or they can come to you for relief. They have a couple different things they can do. There's no one size fits all here. I've said that from day one. This is a lot simpler than you think. It really is.
Why don't we feel that way?
Because the gentleman who's not here tonight has made it very confusing.
Oh,
So I don't want to confuse you. I'm not here to do that. I'm not going to score points with you that way. I'm not trying to. I'm just
Yes.
trying to give you a very clear interpretation of the law and your code. That's all. That's what it says. There's no trick. I'm not trying to, there's nothing here.
well, left with the fact that we're hearing one side.
Oh, because Mr. Singleton.
You're not presenting the other side because the other side.
Yeah.
But you've
Well,
got his,
have our town attorney and
you have a very good you have a very good attorney. I respectfully disagree with him, but he's a good attorney, and I don't always agree with his positions. I don't hear, and I think it's very simple. And again, you're not granting this variance. You're just giving us the opportunity to show up and present it to you. And you can tell us at that time, hey, this is too substantial, go away. You can
But we have
absolutely do that.
opportunities for so many years. This is like just finding all the time something new issue just to keep this continue going and going and going. Mr. Lewis, he made a very clear point.
I think Mrs. Stanisu and I think Attorney Russo, I think it's time that
someone.
we've heard enough from everybody. I think the board is going to have a discussion and we're going to have to make a vote and make a decision on this, whether we're going to hear this matter or not.
I would add two things. One, I could go either way on this because I think the code's fairly clear that they can reapply. But the argument that the discretions with the building department is in terms of him issuing new violations, there's also something in the law which says that if he doesn't issue new violations, you can't keep adding fees. So there is something where you're supposed to, as a building inspector, go out and look again and issue a new violation even on the same thing. So there's a lot of mud in there, but I do agree with the reading of our simple reading of the code that you can appeal it. I just don't know whether.
You can appeal it and ask for the same variance you've asked for.
Wow, that's why what I don't really understand is when it becomes new. when it, you know, if you already appealed it, if you already missed it, I'm not sure. But not being sure, I lean in favor on hearing it because we still have the authority to deny it and to hear it on the merits. You always want to lean into hearing on the merits. But I could go either way.
Uh,
That's why I wanted to
yeah,
hear
I'm
the
with,
case.
I'm
Melissa,
with you, Bart. I mean, I think where there's clear language that we could hear it, and if there's any ambiguity in our code, I would be in favor of hearing it. I think we could, with a amendment to this code section, clarify the ability to allow a code enforcement officer to still follow up on violations without it reopening. Our code doesn't do that right now, but that's not to penalize the applicant. So I would be in favor of hearing this on the merits.
May I suggest that the board make a vote on whether or not you believe you have jurisdiction to hear this issue? If the answer is yes, then you would proceed along what has just been articulated. But if you determine that you don't have jurisdiction, as the issue has been determined to be time barred and nothing has changed, then that resolves that matter before you, before the board tonight.
That's fair.
I think that's fair.
Și de partea noastră.
You want to do a motion, Tom, or Melissa?
they say, are we at a point where?
No,
we should
well,
do-
yeah, I mean, keep in mind too, that in order for a motion to pass, we need 4 votes. We've got 6 members, just be aware of that, because Mr. Padavani has resigned from the board, so there's only 6 members of the board.
This is the two trees case.
So I just bring it to the board's attention that, you know, either way, you have to have 4 votes to,
So voting that we have jurisdiction. If I,
Right.
is voting that, we, not only has there been a new action taken, which started a new clock, it also is saying that I can do that without saying, it's also saying that it's okay that the application is exactly the same as it has always been?
Well, we would be saying that there's a 2024 order.
There's a what?
Good
Okay.
2024 order, and that gives us jurisdiction without elaborating.
to hear the matter, even though the first application
Right, so,
is barred.
I mean, I think that would be the all you would have on that motion. You
So
know, but-
something has freed us up to hear this?
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
Well, if they're saying the issuance of the violation is a new matter and
if you
I don't.
for me, if you read the code and you read the application, you could say we have jurisdiction. But if you go back and you're stuck with this is the same thing because of the pool, it's the pool, it's the pool, it's the pool, then you can say that it's not materially different and that you believe he should have been in front of us within 60 days of that first application. So I think that's where that.
Isn't that where we stand now?
Let me just throw my final 2 cents into the
Sure.
topic.
Please do.
We have a situation where in 2022, an application was made. It was recognized that it was time barred and it was withdrawn. And then in 2023, the same application is made and the board recognized that they didn't have jurisdiction because it was the same application and it had already been determined to be time barred. The Supreme Court of Westchester County said, yes, the board was correct in doing that because it was time barred. And once time barred, you can't breathe new life into it. Then, now the imaginative argument is that because the town recognized there was a code violation and they have an obligation to prosecute code violations, they file an information in the Justice Court, the people of the state of New York versus Dr. and Mrs. Wu, and that restarts the clock. So theoretically, you will never have resolution by the Zoning Board of Appeals because this is the same issue that was determined to be time barred and that in 2003, you folks determined you had no jurisdiction. Simply because the town tried to prosecute an existing code violation doesn't breathe new life to it.
I think I agree with that position.
Yeah, and I think that's the position that we're in now.
It is.
No,
I
You got the
don't, I
vote.
don't think we need to change it.
I'm afraid your code doesn't say
Okay.
that, though.
Mr. Caruso, we know your position.
That's your code.
Yeah, we understand your position.
It doesn't give you, no one's.
Mr. Caruso, yeah, you've already given us your position on this. We understand that.
Well, if I don't agree with you, what do I do?
Do you know?
Yeah.
Better watch myself in the parking lot.
Oh, the old fashioned one.
You're an intimidating man. I'm just making an argument on what's in your code.
Okay, we understand that, and you've said that. You have said that.
No.
Yeah, and I just, no.
Your job is what's written in the code. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
You've said it several times.
something different, Steve. I'm sorry. I don't-
And listen, we have to listen to everybody's opinion and positions, and each member has to come up with their own determination. So I think, is there further discussion necessary here, or are we ready to make a motion as to whether we are going to hear this matter or not? I think, anybody want to say anything else before we go to a vote?
No, but I'd like to hear what you want us to vote on.
Well, we are going to vote on whether if you feel that the matter is time barred or not properly before us or materially different, and you don't think code allows for a rehearing of this, then you would vote that you do not want to hear it. If we vote that we want to hear this matter, then the matter will come before us and we will make a determination as to whether or not we're going to grant an area variance. The area variance, in my opinion, would be quite significant. So even if we got to that point, there may be a very high hurdle, it would be, maybe a very difficult vote for the applicant to get a variance, especially based on the neighbor's situation. So I think we've got to,
Someone needs to make a motion either one way or the other.
you're either going to make a motion to hear the matter or not hear the matter.
Motion not to hear them.
Not to hear the matter, and then everybody has to vote accordingly.
Yep.
I move that we do not hear the matter.
Second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Nay.
Mr. Gio?
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Nay.
Excuse me, may I change my?
What do you vote with
With Bill.
Okay, so we have two not to hear, and we have two to hear the matter.
correct. So Melissa's nay, Arnie's aye, Bill is aye, Bart is nay.
Right.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Canestra, Chairman Canestra, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay,
Board has decided not to hear the matter. Okay. That resolves this matter. Okay. We thank you to both parties. Hopefully you'll have some kind of resolution on this matter.
Seriously doubt that.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, you'd
please.
like this back? Yes, certainly. Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Best of luck, Mr. Wu.
One thing that you're wrong about. Both sides do.
Okay.
Best
Thank
of
you.
luck.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from April 15th, 2025. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
Aye.
Going to review by, or approve by voice consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Oh, no abstentions. Okay. All right, and then last thing I did want to make mention of, Mr. Paul Padavani has resigned from the board due to business commitments. He does a lot of traveling. We do want to thank him very much for his service. Keep in mind, he is a volunteer, was not compensated in any way, and we really do appreciate his efforts on behalf of the town. Last item, we do not have a meeting for June due to tax certs being in this room, so we're not able to meet. We do have a meeting then scheduled for July 15th, 2025. I think you said, Denise, we have 2 or 3 items on the agenda?
We have one for sure, and I'm expecting another one.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so we'll see everybody here then July 15th, 2025. Anything further? Any other issues we have to discuss?
No.
If not?
Oh,
Okay, so we'll adjourn the meeting. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you here July 15th.
And just a thank you to our town attorney for.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Steve.
Coming in.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, so that's it, Paul. We